You do understand ain't but one way to get people dependent on you, right? You do understand that nobody conscious of truth, conscious of their true nature, conscious of I am operating on the inside of them is dependent on anybody or anything other than the presence of the one that they have discovered to have been with them since the beginning of time, but they didn't know it. And when you know, you make the adjustment. When you know, you begin to exercise your rights inside of the relationship that has been eternally gifted to you. But before that, you know what you do? You fight and you claw for value, worth, acceptance, and approval from people who are so broken and bitter and hurt and insecure along with you that they could never extend to you the pleasantries that you depend on them to give you. The people that you crave for to like you don't like themselves. You want them to enjoy you, and they hate the time that they spend around themselves. They spend all the time around you, listening and thinking and calculating and trying to undo all of the things about themselves that they don't like. When they're with you, they're not even observing your actions and your words. That's why there's so many misunderstandings, because they're not listening to you. While you're talking, expressing yourself, they're inside of themselves, critiquing and judging and condemning themselves for what they see as them dropping the ball again. So everything that you said has been omitted. They think it's another attack, and this is just another opportunity for them to grow deeper in the delusional and destructive idea that they are always doing something wrong and they can never get it right for another person. You're not here to get it right for another person. It's not for you to give me what I want out of life, no more than it is for me to get on these videos and tell you what you want to hear. If you spent all of your time giving me what I was under the impression that I needed to be okay and to be well off, and what I needed to be in a position or a state of mind where I was content, every time you came and brung me what I told you based on what I thought would satisfy me, I would find it insufficient, not having the value that I thought it would, not being as enjoyable as I thought it would be. And I would create a new desire, because I will have developed an appetite for being pleased and satisfied by people like you. And it won't be about what you can give me any more than the experience of you extending something in your hand that will just lead to me coming back to you once again. Law 11 of the 48 laws of power encourages us to put people in a position of mental stance where they are under the impression that they need us. Make people dependent on you. Never let your boss, your superior, your relative, your significant other, anybody that you partner or connect yourself with, do business with, get it in their head that they can move forward without you. Because if they ever get it in their head that they can move forward without you, that's a weakness, right? If they ever get it in their head they can move forward without you, they just might. And now you have a new fear on top of all the other fears that you've racked up over the years to give your attention to, divide yourself a little bit more, and walk around a little bit deeper of a split, divisive, destructive, deceptive, manipulative person out to stop all the things from coming to him or her that they do not want. Has that not been you? Has that not been me? You don't know. You got these videos, so you be like, man, yeah, dude, he can talk good. Kevin Gates said it the best. You gotta really watch them people that can talk good. You gotta really watch them, because most people aren't gonna be as honest as I'm gonna keep it. I'm going to tell you that I can tell you about dysfunction, not because I read it in a book, not because I have degrees on the wall. I can tell you about dysfunction because I come from it firsthand. I can tell you about insecurity because I escaped from it firsthand. I can tell you about narcissism because I indulged in it deeply in my younger years. My childhood was filled with narcissistic ways, because that's where narcissism should be encountered, accepted, corrected, and left. In your childhood, in my childhood, I operated the way we say a narcissist operates. And what is the definition of a narcissist other than a human being who has not developed the emotional and psychological maturity to operate as the adult that their age or their physical container indicates that they are? Just because you keep having birthdays, just because the time that you graduated from high school keeps getting further and further away, just because there is nobody left in your life who is comfortable coming to you and telling you what to do, under the impression that you will partner with it and listen to it, and under the guise of it being good counsel, because you've been turned 18, you've been left your mama house, you've been outside of a place where you would get in trouble for not listening, as a physical whooping or punishment, or somebody taking your phone or taking your game counsel. But have you not noticed the trend? Have you not noticed, since you've been under the management of yourself, when you get yourself in things, you have to go through those things yourself and learn the lessons or repeat the course yourself. So it's not that trouble has been withheld from you. It's got a different face. It's got a new mask. It's not your mama in a belt and getting bent over the couch or the bed. It's not your bedroom without the PS4 in it, or without whatever you used to play. No, it's life without all of the amenities and luxuries that were freely given to you. It's life without joy, life without peace, life without abundance, life without the free flow of being sustained by an inner source that is always present. Life outside of the awareness that love is never absent. This is the punishment. The punishment is not a day to come where you stand before a God who was supposed to be your creator and your unconditional lover and your sustainer, who now rejects you because you did not operate on the physical plane in a way that was suitable, and sends you forever condemned to hell. This ain't that. You crave to be happy now. You crave to be at peace now. You crave to have enjoyment and satisfaction and pleasure now. And you can have all of those things, but you have to stop rejecting the truth. You have to stop rejecting the universal principles that allow for you to experience the nature of the gift that was given to you divinely. You can't come into the spiritual realm. You can't enter the kingdom and violate every law in the kingdom and think that you're gonna be one who is embraced and closely paired in proximity and time with the king. It was the king's decree that went out before the people. And you want to come and eat at the king's table, but you constantly violate the king's law. See, we've been talking about them weird appetites. You've actually developed a desire for people to need you, for people to depend on you, for people to set their lives up in such a way where they're under the impression that if you somehow disappear or something was to happen to you, they would no longer be okay. And that's a prison for you and a prison for them. And it's you who signed off on the sentence. It's you who endorsed the trip to prison for the both of you, because you're locked into their expectations. You're locked into what it is that they depend on you for. And you now bear the weight of being one that's depended on to provide something that you don't even have yourself. Understand, when the rich young ruler approached the teacher the rabbi, the great rabbi in scripture, the story is being told to us so that we can see a truth not about the rabbi, but about ourselves. And that's what every story in the book of the Bible was intended to do. It was to show you, not to teach you about someone who existed 2,000 years ago. If that was the case, it makes it just like every other book, and it has absolutely no divine power and relevance towards your life other than what you can go in and interpret selfishly and apply to your life individualistically, even though you're clearly aware at this point that you are part of a collective experience where the same hardships and the same enjoyments fall on everyone inside of it. So for you to keep approaching it the way you've been approaching it, even though it's not working, by definition is insanity. The rich young ruler comes to the teacher and says, "Good teacher, tell me this thing that I would like to know." And instead of the teacher telling him the information, the teacher comes for the verbiage, the wording, because inside of the rich young ruler's wording is an erroneous mindset that has caused the rich young ruler to operate in a dysfunctional and unnatural way. The pain of the rich young ruler, the confusion of the rich young ruler, all stems from the fact that the rich young ruler is not aware of what the rabbi says in response to being called good teacher. The rabbi lets the rich young ruler know that there is no one who is good except for the Father. There is no one who teaches except for the Father. You have me misidentified. See, when you look over at me and you see goodness, you are not looking at me. You are looking at the one who is in me, who is greater than I, that flows freely through me in extension to you, so that I can reflect my divine origins. And as you grow in the knowledge of who you are, what you are, and where you're from, you extend the same. And where two or more are gathered, he's in the midst. It's really simple when you drop the religious antics, when you disconnect from a literal, physical, historical storyline, when you are no longer going into these stories externally centric, when you are looking for the value and the true factor for you in the present moment, the ancient scripture is the best place to go. Depend on you for what? What is it that you want people to depend on you for? If they depend on you for their happiness, they'll blame you for their misery. If they depend on you for their financial success, they'll blame you for their poverty. If they depend on you for their physical wellness, they'll blame you at the sight of an illness or the sense of a sickness. The approval and acceptance that you have clawed for, the relevance that you have chased after, is so temporary, and it's something that passes so quickly that if one has any sense of a business mind at all, you'll see it as a senseless investment. It's way too expensive to be so ineffective, to last such a short amount of time. It's not worth the price that we pay for it. We pay for it with our lives, and in return, we experience the most unnatural thing to living beings: death. The wage of sin is death. What is sin? Sin is to miss the mark. What mark? The mark of the truth. What is the truth? I and I am are one. All that is I am's, which is all living, good, truthful things, are also mine, based upon my union, my relationship, my proximity, and my direct inheritance from the source firsthand. This is not something that was extended to us based on performance. This is not something that we had to present ourselves in the right way and say the right things for. You have been enjoying the free gift extended from the Father, the source of all beings, since before you were even able to intellectually understand half of the things coming out of my mouth. Before you knew how to articulate mama and dada, the universal divine presence was with you, often watching over you in ways you weren't even conscious of at the time. Half of your parents were not present. The other half of our parents were present and distracted with the many cares of life, being carried away, being tossed to and fro from every wave that flowed over our lifetime. And here you are today, not broken, not hurt physically. You know, if you hit the IRS up and multiple parents, multiple families were claiming the same identical dependents, there would be some audits and probably some jail time. Because in actuality, you can only be a dependent of one source. So if you can only be a dependent of one source, and you know prior to this point, you have not had a flowing relationship with the one and only source that there is in existence, in reality, then it's very, very easy for us to make the clear analysis that we have been operating from a position centered around an imaginary source. Robert Greene has actually taken us to one of the most dysfunctional things that we do with our time and with our life. Dependency from one who is a dependent of the divine source and creator of all things, who was even kind enough to design you and me, not only in form, but in capacity, in wholeness, and in operation, in his image and likeness, so that we can operate just the way we have been operating. But you don't often admit how you have torn your life apart utilizing the gift of free will, your ability to choose between the truth and the illusion that appears to be satisfactory to you in the moment, is often where we find ourselves off course, detouring back to the starting line, running in circles, not even aware of it. You look goofy. And don't get me wrong, I'm not poking fun. I look just as goofy when I take my attention off of truth, when I take my eye off of my Father, when I stop listening to the whisper within, and I get wrapped up in the counsel of the legion of voices that has been developed from my past experiences. I look just as goofy. It's not personal. It looks the same on all of us. Love looks the same on all of us. Fear, bitterness, brokenness, insecurity, hatred, self-sabotage. It looks the same on all of us. Like you've been just switching people, giving one person your energy until they do something that sets you off, and then going and changing people and giving the next person that same energy, slapping the title on it, copy, paste, revise, reprint, refresh. Have you even noticed that you're doing the same things? You grow dependent on a person to make you feel good. They stop making you feel good. You feel really bad for a little while, and then you find a new person to give you that same feeling, or something that you've identified as better than that feeling. Because you know we're good at that too. You allow you to make you feel bad in a heartbeat, thinking that it's going to make you feel better. Because that's just how simple the complex brain inside our head is. The reality of it is it cannot be trusted. It was never to be followed. It was designed to be a slave to you who walks in alignment with truth. When you put your brain on a leash and you send it where you want it to go, you're a dangerous individual who stands to lead the collective into the moment of awakening. But when your brain has you on a leash, and your brain is telling you where to go and what to do and who to talk to and who to disconnect from, when to come outside, when to stay in the bed, it's an up and down battle. It's an in and out experience. Because the brain was never designed to be a leader. The brain does not have the relationship with divine truth that I am has. And it's not even just us growing dependent on other people. When you don't know the value of yourself, when you don't know how important you are to the creator and sustainer of all things, when you don't know that you are personally adored, when you don't know that you have been labeled beloved, when you don't know that there is a divine entity inside of you that is endless, when you don't know that your presence can change a room, when you don't know that a word from your mouth inspired from the divine presence on the inside of you can shift the atmosphere of not only a person, but of a city, a state, a culture, a country. You find yourself seeking people who do not know the value of themselves either, so that you can steal a sense of virtue from them, because you'll never get the real thing. What you really get is pressure. What you really get is something else to do, something to keep you busy, something to keep you preoccupied, something to keep your hands going, your feet moving, your mouth bumping, and your head racing. That's what you get when somebody depends on you. You get pressure. And you fold under that pressure every time. You bear it as long as you can, but it's unnatural to you. But we've been taught that pressure comes with some of the roles that we play. You have a child with somebody, you gonna be a mama, you gonna be a daddy. It's mama job to be there even if daddy ain't there. It's daddy job to provide even if he ain't got nothing. You gonna break your role? You gonna accept the fact that you irresponsible to these people? You gonna label yourself irresponsible by their standards? Or can you hold on to your identity? Can you accept the fact that you're not a failure because your identity is not baby daddy, baby mama? Can you accept the fact that you are not a failure because your identity is not wife, not husband? Can you accept that? I understand you may have dropped the ball in some places. You may have not been present sometimes that you should have. But can you understand, for me, that that does not change the nature of who you are? You are a son of the divine. You are a daughter of the divine. The only way for you to let your creator down is for you to forget who you are, for you to not operate as who you were created to be, for you to be down here under the impression that you need people dependent on you and you need to be dependent on other people. Or you need to be dependent on somebody depending on you because that makes you more valuable or creates more opportunities for you. Your gift opens the door for you. You don't have to be down here trying to steal opportunities, down here trying to work people out of what they have or trying to make room for yourself. All you have to do is move freely in the gift of life and not get it twisted. Because see, that's what we do. We get it twisted. We think that if we don't make it happen, ain't nothing gonna shake. And that's why we be out here doing such weird things. We'll hurt the people that we say we love, trying to make something happen for them. And that's weird. I say depend on no one. And you don't need nobody depending on you. We already dodging pressure. We already shaking, living with attachments, living under expectations. We already coming out of that. And the only way you're gonna come out of it is if you remember that the only one you ever supposed to depend on and is the only one who could ever deliver, the one who always delivers. Look at how many times you depended on people and they let you down. Why keep in the dysfunction? Let it go. Lock in.